Oh baby, unit lost, rank doesn't matter t-shirt. The store, ladies and gentlemen, is finally here. If you'd like to look like me, that is absolutely beautiful, with a magnificent rank doesn't matter t-shirt, then you need to head over to this place, the beautiful unit lost store. You can see me just checking it out in the background. I'm going to do a video later on in the day and fully show this off. However, I'm giving you guys a little bit of a sneak peek in this video because there is a competition I'm doing. You can win a $100 shopping spree on the unit lost store. There will be 3 winners. The details are in the description of this video below. The link is on the screen. Go there and win big. There is the super limited edition gold t-shirt, which is only going to be for sale for a week, if that. And then we've got the standard classic design, which is obviously the beautiful unit lost logo of old. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's get stuck into the video. Oh baby. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa, and Season 5 placement disaster, right? No, guys, no, it really isn't. It's the same as Season 4. So what I've noticed a lot of guys are actually speaking about is I'm placing really low. This is not fair. I've won 9 of my games. I've won 10 of my games. Why have I placed in Platinum? This is not fair, etc, etc, etc. Well, before I get into this video and tell you my top 5 tips on how to deal with placement games, I think we should just talk about this. Now, what this is me asking on Twitter, guys, where did you finish last season at? What was your win-loss ratio in your placement games this season, and where did you place at? And there is one very, very common theme here, is you will place a slightly little bit lower, on average, than you ended the season at last season. So what that means is, if you ended the season at 3000 SR, you'll probably, depending on what you do in your placement games, end up at like 2.8 or 2.850 or something like that, or maybe 2900, because the game will always place you slightly lower than where you ended, because it wants you to make that difference up. Now, there is arguments to say that it's probably like a median result, like so the average result between your season high and your ending season result, right? So if you were at 3k season high but ended the season at 2.8, you can probably expect to finish 2.7, maybe 2.850 if you win all of your games, and something like that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And you know I'm famous for saying this, rank doesn't matter, placement doesn't matter, nothing like that really matters. Placement games are honestly the most... They get hyped up to high heaven, right? So everybody is really, really tense in their placement games. Everybody thinks it's do or die. But the crazy thing is, placement, it really isn't. Placement is just... It's almost pointless, right? Because do your placement games, and then after the placement games, that's when you really need to start working out how you're playing the game, start becoming a better player, and then working up through the ranks. Because if the game places you lower than where you belong, you should be able to rapidly gain SR, and that's why it does this, to make you feel better. Everybody likes to win. So the easiest way to make you win, right, is to give you less SR than you actually deserve. So if you come in at, like I said, if you ended the season at 3k, and then you place at 2.8, and then you win your next game, you're probably going to gain quite a bit of SR, because your MMR, remember I spoke about this before, but your MMR is independent to your SR, and your MMR is saying, actually, this person should be gaining more SR because he's better than the SR range he's in or she's in. And so it rapidly adjusts you. And that's why it feels great after you've done placement games. I know you're probably thinking, that don't make much sense, does it? How does it feel great if I end up lower than I was last season? That's not great. But it's not about that. Placement just sort of calibrates you in an area where it thinks you belong, and then you rapidly start to get to where you do belong, and it should feel great. However, all this being said, I have 5 top tips for placement games, and I recommend, guys, that you follow these tips because you will get better results in those games. So the first tip is to warm up, and now a lot of these tips will just extend to general competitive play as well, because yes, placement games don't matter as such, but it still makes sense to go into them and treat them as normal competitive games, right? So you want to go in and you want to win. The first thing you need to do is warm up. You can see in the background now, I'm showing you my warm-up drill. It's very basic. It's not anything complex. It's not going into custom games. It's not playing quick play matches. It's not loading in anabots or anything like that, which anabots, you know, can be a bit debatable in terms of warm-up and all of that stuff. Basically, I run around the practice range and just start firing at the bots, and I can tell that after maybe 10 minutes of this, my accuracy is way better than it was when I first started. Now, if you don't warm up and don't spend those 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you want to do, just firing at bots in the training range, and then you go straight into a game, you're going to be slow. You're going to have reduced reactions, and that's going to make you worse in the game, and you don't want that. It is essential to warm up. The best way to view this is treat it like a sport. No sportsman or woman or whatever, they're not going to go straight in and start playing football or start playing baseball, basketball, whatever. They're going to go through a warm-up routine. They're going to warm their muscles up so they work. It's exactly the same with gaming, right? You have to warm up your hand, you have to warm up your other hand, doing various things. You have to warm up your brain, your eyes, absolutely everything. Your coordination has to be warmed up. If you don't do that, you will suffer. So please go into the training range and just kill bots for 5-10 minutes. It will make you much better when you go into that first game of the day. Number 2 is use comms. And again, like I said, all of these tips, general tips as they are, do apply to competitive. But if you use them in placement, it's going to obviously help your placement game. So use comms. What do I mean by this? I just mean very basic comms. There is actually a guide video which I'm working on for Overwatch Academy, which is very detailed and shows you how to use the comms, how I would use the comms. What I mean by this is don't make friends with everybody. Don't tell people your life story. Don't pollute the comms. Just make very basic callouts. If you're playing Genji and you've got your blade ready and there's an Anna on your team and she's got her nano boost ready, or say, Anna, can you nano me? That's all you need to say. You don't need to say any more. Make really basic callouts. If you notice a Genji is flanking your team, or a tracer, or a soldier, or whatever, then say, soldiers behind, or soldiers above. Just make really basic callouts. You will be surprised, guys, how much of an impact this will have. I watched tons and tons of videos back of people throughout all of the tiers for Overanalyzed, and I noticed people very rarely use the comms correctly, or very rarely use them at all. If you are that person who uses comms in Platinum, in Diamond, in even Master in some cases, your team has a much better chance of winning because you're giving them information, and it's the fastest and the best way to give them info. So try and use comms. They are essential. Now, number 3, a little bit controversial, but play your main. But you need to be flexible, right? But the very first thing you want to do is play the character you are the best at. It doesn't really matter what the meta is, right? Screw the meta. If you're an amazing Torbjorn player, well then play Torbjorn. I'd rather have you playing Torbjorn than playing meta Soldier 76 that maybe you can't play because you're a better Torbjorn. Now, what I mean by being flexible is if you lock in as your Soldier 76 main, but you've got too much DPS and you don't maybe have a tank, or there is a guy on your team who would really like the Soldier 76, I would always give it to that person and then be flexible around that. A key concept with Overwatch is winning the game through selecting a good team, a coherent team. Now, the meta doesn't matter, but there are 2 things which ring true. You need a tank, right? You absolutely need a tank, and you need probably 2 supports. There are some cases where you can take 1, but you need 2 supports and a tank. If you don't have that, then maybe if you're playing a DPS, you should think, okay, we don't have a tank, I should probably play a tank. Your team will have a much better chance of winning. And again, this extends way beyond placement games and extends to all of your competitive matches. Number 4, this is crucial, don't tilt. Everybody tilts during the placement games. They're probably the most toxic games you will play all season because everybody thinks it's all on the line. If I don't win all of these games, it's going to be so horrifically bad. I'm going to play so low, I'm going to be stuck in elo hell, and etc, etc, etc. That won't happen. It will not happen. You have to get that out of your head. Go into these games and just be chill. If you lose, it's fine. Placement doesn't matter. The real ranking begins once you finish those 10 games. If you get that into your head, you will be a much calmer player and it will be fine throughout your placement games. The thing is though, you are going to come across people who will get really angry and really animated. The best thing to do with these people is to block them. Now, if you start talking back to them, if you start trying to engage in them, it's just going to make them even more crazy and even more angry. I have seen through playing placement games on some of my accounts, people doing really ridiculous stuff. Like, the first fight is lost, so, oh, screw this, I'm going to play Torbjorn and just do nothing and build the turret in the spawn. I have seen that happen. Like, that is ridiculous. Why are people doing that? It's because the pressure that they put on themselves is so immense that they sort of crumble. And their only reaction is to just tilt even worse themselves, and it goes ridiculous and everything goes mental. So try and stay calm. It is really, really crucial. And the last tip is don't burn out. Don't do all 10 games at once. I'm stupid, and I've done this quite a few times, and so I can speak from experience. During season 2, 3, and 4, I streamed my placement games. I didn't do it this season because I was ill, and that was really unlucky. So all the guys that I usually do them with, I think they went ahead and just did it without me. So, you know, feels bad, man. But the idea here is if you sit down and play 10 games of Overwatch at a very high intensity level, you will become worse as the games go on. I honestly think I can maybe play 4 or 5 games at maximum output. Then after that, I'm starting to get a little bit worse, right? I'm starting to make bad decisions because I'm getting tired. It's a very intensive game, Overwatch is, so the worst thing you can do is play it when you're tired, and burning yourself out through your placement games probably isn't a great idea, especially if you'd like to place very close to where you ended the season off, because if you lose all of the games, it will be more of a gap and you might feel a little bit worse. And again, remember the compound issue of not tilting and not burning out, because if you start losing games, it's going to make you tilt a little bit, and when you're going to tilt, if you're more tired, you're going to tilt a little bit easier, and it's all going to add up, and it's all going to cause a load of problems that, well, honestly, you don't really want. And finally, I've got to end the video on this, but placement doesn't matter, guys. Recite this after me. Placement doesn't matter. Placement doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Ranked doesn't matter. Nothing really matters, right? Go out there and have fun. But please respect other players on your team. Don't try and mess up their experience because you don't like their pick. If they make a troll pick in your eyes, it doesn't matter, right? You have got to work around that. Don't think, oh, I'm not playing the game now. This is pathetic. Why is this guy playing Torbjorn on attack? So I'm just going to do whatever the hell I like. You there are the reason why that game is a defeat. And all of this is made much worse because it's placement games and everybody thinks their entire Overwatch career is on the line. It is not. Go out there and do your placement games. And if you have watched this video and you have never, ever, ever done your placement games, go and do them. It doesn't matter. It's not like a blemish on your account if it places you at silver or bronze or gold or whatever. It's not a blemish. That is a mark of, it's an achievement, right? And then you can build upon that and then you can become a better player over time. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa and this is Unit Lost. I hope you enjoyed this video and go out there and enjoy your placement games. You can follow me on Twitter, guys, which is @UnitLostGame. You can join the Discord, which is discord.gg/UnitLost. And I will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.